There is a time to speak, and there is a time to grow. And growth, beloved, does not come with noise. It comes with knowing. Inner strength is not something we find in the noise of the world, nor in the applause of strangers. It is not revealed in our loudest moments or in the places where others gather to be seen. Inner strength begins in stillness, in that sacred quiet where the world fades, and we are left with nothing but ourselves, no distractions, no performances, just the echo of our own thoughts and the raw truth of who we are when no one is watching. Stillness is not merely the absence of sound, it is presence. It is the space where the soul speaks without needing permission, where the heart listens without interruption. In a world obsessed with movement, we forget that standing still is a form of power, that taking a breath before a decision, sitting in silence before a reaction, or retreating into solitude before a breakthrough are acts of great strength. The world may rush, but wisdom waits, and in waiting, it grows. When we are still, we come face to face with the parts of ourselves we often ignore, the pain we've buried, the dreams we've postponed, the fears we've disguised as logic. In stillness, they all rise to the surface. And though that may feel like weakness, it is the beginning of real power, because you cannot conquer what you won't confront, and you cannot heal what you refuse to feel. Stillness doesn't expose us to defeat. It invites us into truth, and truth is the soil in which strength is grown. There is courage in being quiet, in resisting the pull to prove, to argue, to perform. When you choose silence, you choose self-trust. You choose to believe that you do not need the world's noise to validate your becoming. You do not need applause to measure your progress. You do not need to explain your path to anyone who has never walked your pain. The still soul knows that strength doesn't come from how loudly you respond to the world, but how deeply you are rooted in yourself. In the stillness, we remember. We remember that we are not just bodies moving through schedules and routines, not just minds solving problems and pleasing people. We are souls, deep and wide, capable of rising again and again, not because of the world's permission, but because of a quiet force within. A force that does not depend on the outside to move. A force that has known fire and survived. A force that does not need to shout to be heard because it listens to itself. This world will try to convince you that stillness is laziness, that silence is weakness, that solitude is sadness. But what they call weakness is often the womb of transformation. What they mock as silence is often the language of vision. And what they pity as loneliness is often the birthplace of the strongest kind of self-love, the kind that doesn't crumble when others withdraw. When the storm comes, and it will, it's not the tree that sways with every breeze that survives. It's the one with deep roots, roots that were grown in quiet soil, away from eyes, in the dark, in the silence. That's what stillness gives you, roots. And when you are rooted, you cannot be shaken. So sit in the stillness, breathe in its honesty. Let it show you what you've been carrying. Let it remind you of what you've overcome. Let it rebuild the parts of you that no one applauds, but you know were never broken. Because in that still place, you will remember. Your strength was never lost. It was simply waiting for you to be quiet enough to hear it. Not every battle needs a roar. Some wars are won in silence. Some victories are carried not in the sound of shouting, but in the quiet dignity of restraint. The world may teach you to yell, to prove, to defend yourself at every turn. But there is another way, a wiser way, a way that leans into calm and walks with grace. Because power does not always show itself in loudness. Sometimes it whispers, and in that whisper is all the strength you need. We are conditioned to believe that to be strong, we must be aggressive, that we must always respond, always react, always let people know they cannot walk over us. But real power is not in reaction, it is in response. And sometimes the best response is no response at all. That doesn't mean you are weak. It means you have mastered the discipline of self. It means you know that your energy is too precious to be thrown at every passing offense or provocation. There is a certain kind of battle that is not for the world to witness. It happens inside. It is the war between the self you are and the self you're becoming, between your past and your purpose. That war isn't fought on a stage or on social media. It is fought in silence, in the dark moments, in the deep nights, when no one is looking, and when you win it, no announcement is needed. You carry the victory in your presence, in your peace, in your refusal to return to what you outgrew. People will test you. They will try to pull you out of your calm. They will misunderstand your silence as submission. Let them wonder, let them talk. You don't need to prove anything. Your growth is not for debate. Your peace is not up for negotiation. You don't need to roar to be powerful. You don't need to explain yourself to be right. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is keep your head high, keep your heart clean, and walk away without a single word. Stillness is not weakness, it is strategy. Not every confrontation deserves your fire. Not every insult requires a response. You must choose your battles like you choose your friends, with intention, with wisdom, and with the future in mind. Because some arguments are distractions, some fights are designed to keep you small. And if you are always busy defending your name, you will have no time left to build your legacy. Your silence is not an absence. It is a presence, loud and clear. It says, I know who I am. It says, I choose peace over pride. It says, I will not shrink myself to fit someone else's chaos. And that kind of silence, that kind of still strength, shakes the ground louder than any scream. You do not have to meet every blow with a blow. You do not have to meet every noise with more noise. Sometimes you just keep walking, keep building, keep becoming. Let your actions be your answer. Let your healing be your proof. Let your life speak louder than your lips ever could. Roaring may feel good for a moment, but peace lasts longer. And the one who can stay calm in the storm, who can keep their spirit anchored while the world tries to pull them apart, is the one who truly wins. Not with thunder, not with flames, but with the quiet force of knowing who they are and where they're going. So hold your roar, hold your fire. You're not here to convince the world of your strength. You're here to live it, quietly, steadily, unshakably, because not every battle needs a roar, but every warrior needs wisdom. Energy is sacred, more sacred than time, more sacred than words, more sacred than the opinions of others. You can earn back money, you can recover from lost moments, but once your energy is drained, once your spirit is tangled in the noise, it takes more than rest to return. It takes a reclamation, a reckoning, a remembering of who you are and what you're meant to carry. And what you're not. We give away our energy too easily to arguments that do not matter, to people who do not listen, to proving things that should have been believed. We spill it trying to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding us. We waste it correcting, defending, explaining, reacting. And by the time the day is over, our bodies are tired. But more than that, our souls are weary, not from work, but from noise. Not every voice deserves your ear. Not every situation deserves your attention. Not every invitation to conflict is worthy of a response. Your energy is a sacred flame. Don't let it be blown about by every wind that passes by. Tend to it. Protect it. Keep it burning for the things that matter. Your peace, your purpose, your growth. There are people who feed on chaos. They walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere with tension. They speak just to provoke. They exist not in clarity, but in confusion. And when you engage with that, when you enter their noise, you begin to vibrate at a frequency that does not belong to you. You start to carry burdens that were never yours to begin with. And in that moment, you have traded your sacred energy for borrowed conflict. Silence is not surrender, it's preservation. Walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. Letting things be is not apathy, it's alignment. When you know the value of your energy, you begin to be more intentional. You choose your words carefully, you pause before you react. You decline invitations to battles that would only drain you and elevate nothing. And more than that, you become still enough to recognize what feeds your energy and what drains it. Some conversations leave you hollow. Some rooms dim your light. Some interactions are a slow leak to the soul. Learn the difference. Listen to your body when it feels heavy. Listen to your spirit when it grows quiet. That's your inner compass. That's wisdom speaking, not fear. Every time you choose peace over proving, calm over chaos, stillness over struggle, you protect something holy within you. You protect your ability to keep creating, to keep growing, to keep showing up as your fullest self. You protect the part of you that dreams, that heals, that hopes. That part doesn't thrive in noise. It thrives in clarity, in intention, in quiet confidence. You were not born to explain your every move. You were not born to fight every shadow. You were not born to carry the weight of every opinion, every assumption, every projection. You were born to shine, to create, to rise. And that rising needs energy. Clean, focused, sacred energy. The kind that doesn't chase noise but draws light. So ask yourself before you respond, is this worth my spirit? Does this deserve a piece of my light? Or can I simply return to myself, quiet, whole, and undisturbed? Because your energy is not just sacred, it is your currency, your power, your life force. Spend it wisely. Give it only to what lifts, what builds, what honors who you're becoming. Let the rest fade into the background where it belongs, silent, unbothered, and irrelevant. You don't owe the world an explanation, not for your silence, not for your healing, not for the way you choose to protect your peace or walk your path. People will ask, they will wonder, they may judge. Let them. That is their business, not yours. Your journey is not a performance for public approval. It is a sacred unfolding, and not everyone is meant to understand it. There is a quiet kind of freedom in realizing that you do not have to justify who you are. You don't have to apologize for what you left behind or explain why certain doors are now closed. You don't have to draw maps for those who never bothered to walk with you when you were lost. The path you're on is yours alone, paved with lessons the world didn't see and battles you never spoke of. It is not for public debate. It is not for small minds to dissect. So many of us are burdened by the weight of needing to be understood. We want to be seen. We want to be accepted. But in that craving, we sometimes shrink. We soften our edges. We delay our becoming. And all for what? To be digestible? To be praised by people who do not know the cost of our growth? No. Your truth is not a story for everyone, and your evolution does not need applause. There will be moments in life when people question your silence, when they say you've changed, when they demand to know why you're distant or different. And in those moments, you must remember, silence is not distance, it's direction. Growth creates space. Healing changes your vocabulary. Maturity alters your priorities. You are not required to explain this to anyone. When you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim your power. You learn to sit with your choices, not perfectly, not without pain, but with ownership. You learn to trust that your soul knows what it's doing, even when others don't understand. And trust is louder than words. It speaks in how you show up, not what you say. The world will always ask for more answers, more access, more of your energy, but you get to decide what you give. You get to say, no, not today. You get to hold pieces of yourself back, not because you're hiding, but because you're preserving. You're protecting what's still becoming, what's still fragile, what's still sacred. That is not selfish. That is self-respect. Sometimes the most radical act of love is choosing to move in silence, to heal privately, to evolve without the need to prove, because explanations can become prisons. They tether us to the need for approval. They keep us performing when we should be transforming. They bind us to narratives we've outgrown. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth. You don't have to make your decisions make sense to those who never took the time to understand your soul. Your life is not a group project. Your healing is not a public statement. It is okay to choose peace over proof. It is okay to move without announcing, to rise without warning. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them draw conclusions based on pieces of the story they were never invited to know. You are not here to be easy to figure out. You are here to become whole, not explainable, not agreeable, but true. And truth, when lived fully, does not always come with footnotes. It simply is, quiet, unshaken, and unapologetic. Protect your peace like a precious jewel, because that's what it is. Rare, radiant, and not meant to be handled by just anyone. Your peace is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is the stillness at the center of your soul, the calm that allows you to think clearly, move wisely, and live fully. And in a world that thrives on chaos, confusion, and noise, keeping that peace intact is a radical act of self-love. Peace doesn't arrive with applause. It does not shout. It doesn't demand attention. It settles quietly, like a soft light at dawn, like a gentle hush over a weary heart. It comes when you no longer chase validation, when you no longer beg the world to understand you. It comes when you learn to walk away without anger, to say no without guilt, to choose yourself without shame. And once you've tasted that peace, truly felt it settle into your bones, you will stop offering it up to people who haven't earned the right to hold it. Not everyone is meant to have access to your quiet. Not everyone deserves front row seats to your healing, your becoming, your wholeness. There are people who come with noise, people who feed on drama, people who push and pull at your energy, people who mistake your softness for weakness. And the longer you entertain their chaos, the more distant your peace becomes. To protect it, you must be willing to disappoint those who expect you to remain available for their disorder. Boundaries are the walls that guard your peace, and they are not cruel, they are kind. They say, I love myself enough not to be drained. They say, I choose peace over pleasing. And they are not just for others to follow, they are for you to honor even when it's hard. Because every time you choose your peace over your pattern, your presence grows stronger. You learn to sit with yourself without restlessness. You learn to find comfort not in noise, but in stillness. There will be people who don't understand, people who accuse you of being cold, distant, detached. Let them. Peace is often misinterpreted by those addicted to conflict, but you are not here to be consumed by other people's chaos. You are here to be whole, to walk with grace, to build a life that feels good on the inside, even if it's quiet on the outside. Protecting your peace means being honest about what disturbs it. It means listening to the tightening in your chest when someone's words sting too often. It means honoring the exhaustion that follows certain conversations. It means recognizing that you don't have to stay where you keep losing pieces of yourself. You are not required to make your spirit small just to make others comfortable. Your peace is not passive. It is power. It is what allows you to choose silence over shouting, clarity over confusion, softness over survival. It gives you the courage to walk away from what is no longer aligned. It gives you the strength to rebuild without bitterness. And when you guard it, when you carry it like a jewel inside your chest, your light begins to shine in ways noise never could. So take care of it. Don't explain it. Don't offer it to anyone who doesn't know how to handle something so sacred. Let your peace be your standard, your boundary, your compass. Because when you live from that place, that still strong, sacred place, no storm can shake you, no voice can diminish you, and no chaos can claim you. Peace becomes your power, and no one can take what you refuse to surrender. The most dangerous person is the one who knows and says nothing. Not because they are passive, not because they are afraid, but because they are in control. They have mastered the rare and quiet art of restraint. They understand the weight of knowledge and the power of silence. And when you carry both, you no longer need to prove your intelligence, your strength, or your awareness. You simply move with precision, speak with purpose, and act with intention. This world teaches us to react, to speak quickly, to defend ourselves, to clap back. But there is a deeper power in observing before responding, in waiting before acting, in knowing more than you say and saying only what needs to be said. The one who knows and says nothing is not empty. They are full of vision, full of strategy, full of truth, and they are wise enough to know that not all truth must be spoken, not all battles must be fought, not all thoughts must be shared. There's strength in holding back, in being underestimated, in listening while others talk themselves into corners, in watching while the room reveals itself. When you don't rush to speak, you make space to understand. You learn what moves people make when they think you're not paying attention. And in that quiet, you gather more than words. You gather insight. The loud often miss the moment. The quiet catch everything. A person who knows and says nothing carries themselves with a calm that others find unnerving. That calm is not silence. It is confidence. It is clarity. It is a refusal to be baited into pointless noise. It is a decision to rise above the performance of proving and instead operate from depth. They don't need the room to agree. They don't seek validation. They're not thirsty for attention because their mind is already made and their peace is already chosen. You see it in their eyes, in the way they walk away from arguments with grace, in how they never chase closure from people who wouldn't recognize truth if it was spelled out, in how they don't respond to every insult, every rumor, every challenge to their character. They know who they are, and that is enough. They've made peace with being misunderstood because they've made peace with themselves. This kind of person doesn't play for the crowd. They move in silence, but not in secrecy. They're not hiding, they're building, they're healing, they're strategizing. And when the time comes to speak, their words will land like thunder. Not because they were loud, but because they were true. Their silence makes their voice matter more. Their restraint makes their actions hit harder. The dangerous one is the one who no longer seeks revenge because they've outgrown the need for it. The one who's been through fire and came out not with smoke, but with clarity. The one who's learned that some battles aren't worth fighting, not because they can't win, but because winning would cost them their peace, and peace is priceless. Knowing and saying nothing is not suppression, it is selection. It is knowing the difference between what needs to be said and what's better left unspoken. It is choosing power over pride, and pride often speaks too soon while power waits. Power watches, power builds in silence. So when you encounter someone who says little, don't mistake that for ignorance or fear. Look again. You might be in the presence of someone who knows more than you think, who feels more than they show, and who has already made peace with truths too heavy for conversation. That is not weakness, that is not indifference, that is mastery. And there is nothing more dangerous or more beautiful than a person who knows and chooses silence. In a world that demands noise, speed, and constant validation, the greatest act of power is to turn inward, to focus on yourself and stay silent. Each word spoken, each battle fought, and each ounce of energy spent must be weighed against its cost to your peace. Because not all growth is visible and not all strength is loud. Real transformation happens quietly, in the stillness where no one is clapping, in the silence where no one is watching.